She worked for a global news or a big news network. She started to ask just regular questions. She's like, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? We're a news organization. Isn't that what we do as a news organization? And she got fired for that, of course.
Crazy.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Jimmy Dore. I'm very proud to say that I can call him my friend. And standing by, that's going to join me very soon, is a great podcaster from Ottawa. You know him, David Kraden. I can call him my friend. Also, we're all becoming so friendly. It's funny because the people in the mainstream media, they don't talk to me anymore. I wonder why. Honestly, I wonder why. But we have a lot to talk about. There's so much, as always, going on. It's so hard to keep up. But before I get into some of the politics and some of the things that I want to talk about, that like these liberal ministers who seem to be absolutely clueless when it comes to basic things about their job. I mean, let me just indulge me for 1 second. I was a TV director for a long time, which means that I worked in a control room and I directed newscasts. You could basically plonk me into any control room across the country, and I don't even have to know anything. You give me a rundown in a show, and I'll make the show happen based on my experience, right? That's the job that I know. Now, having been fired from that job, if you plonk me in a situation where all of a sudden you ask me to go drywall something, I don't really know what I'm doing. But if I was supposed to drywall something, you better believe I'm going to brief myself. I'm going to watch videos. I'm going to train myself. And if I have to go and do that job, I'm going to do it. But I feel like the ministers that we've hired, they don't brief themselves. They don't prepare. They seem to be so unknowledgeable. So it's annoying. You know, that is their job. That is their expertise. And they should know what they're doing when they go and stand up in question period or at committee hearings, and they don't. And it's extremely frustrating to watch. But anyway, speaking of people that don't talk to me anymore, I want to play you a little clip from CTV with an anchor that I used to work with. Not that she doesn't like me, but we just don't talk anymore. I don't know. But I used to work with her quite a bit. But anyway, that's besides the point. I want to touch on something. We're supposed to be all elbows up in this country. And my premier is David Eby. This guy doesn't want pipelines, doesn't want business to flourish. I don't know what this wants. I don't know what he wants. I don't know how he gives the NDP raises while he cuts programs, doesn't want a pipeline, and proposes to support Canadian businesses or BC businesses while he takes liquor off the shelf, while he says buy BC. He's not really fundamentally supporting that. So some news has just come out that BC Ferries, okay, we're going to get new ferries built, but they're not going to be by Canadian companies at all. Here, watch this.
BC Ferries has chosen a Chinese company to build 4 new major vessels to replace an aging fleet. The publicly owned company says China Merchants Industry Weihai Shipyards has won the contract. BC Ferries isn't saying how much the shipyard will be paid to protect future bids. The team says 20 shipyards around the world pre-qualified for the procurement process. There were also site reviews, reference checks, and contracts with third-party assessors before deciding on Weihai.
This shipyard has given us the best combination of good experience, technical capability, size and scale, safety management, affordability, and confidence that they can deliver the ships that we need on the schedule that we require.
BC Ferries says no Canadian shipbuilder put in a bid for review. The new vessels will come into service between 2029 and 2031. And for the first time, the new ships will feature an indoor play space for pets.
For pets, whoopee ding dong. You know, the thing you're going to hear, you just heard her say in that story, there was no Canadian company that put in a bid. So if you're watching mainstream news, you're going to hear that because on City TV, they're saying the same thing. On other channels, they're saying the same thing. So all the mainstream is running that script. And what it does is it leads you to believe that, no, the Canadian companies, no, nobody put in a bid. So sorry. So we had to give it to a Chinese company. That's not entirely accurate. There is another part to that story. So for the Canadian shipbuilders, when the request for proposals was issued last September, Canadian shipbuilder Seaspan said in a statement that Canadian shipyards and their supply chains cannot compete with low-wage countries that have lower employment standards, lower environmental standards, and lower safety standards than Canada and BC. So they couldn't compete with what China is offering because we have labor codes, we have union wages, we have standards that need to be upheld. So when you hear Mi Jung Lee on CTV say no Canadian company put their hand up, it's like, you don't think that we want the job? You think that we want to send that to China? No, we don't. So as you heard, the winning bidder is Chinese state-owned China Merchants Industry Weihai Shipyards. And the CEO, Nicholas Jimenez of BC Ferries, is like, well, we just want the best deal. We want to keep the geopolitics out of it. What hogwash. They should all be vying for Canadian companies to build these ferries. And so this is David Eby. This is your David Eby, or it's not yours. We're stuck with this bugger. I don't even know how we voted for him. But as you'll know, China and Canada, we're in a trade dispute, right? So we've got retaliatory tariffs on canola and on peas, seafood, and other things, right? So because we have the tariff, 100% tariff on their electric cars. So this is a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I was really upset to hear that a Chinese company would be building our ferries. But anyway, so I just thought I'd let you know that. Now, time for our guest. Let me bring in Mr. David Kraden. David Kraden, thank you for joining me today.
I feel
Nice
like
to
I'm
see-
back home. I'm back home. I love BC. I just love being on this time zone. That's fantastic. I grew up in BC, Vancouver Island, and
Yeah.
this is my home. It's so nice to be talking to you. It really is.
Did you ride the ferries much?
Did I ride the ferries much? Yes, I rode the ferries constantly because I was on Vancouver Island. I
Yes.
was raised on Comox, the Air Force Base. And of course, we always had to get to Vancouver sooner or later. And yes, I rode the Ferris. But you know what? In those days, they were read. They were read by a
Yeah.
government that had a free enterprise economy, and it was called the Bill Bennett Social Credit Government. It was the
Oh, yeah.
Bill Vander Zalm Social Credit Government. It was a government that made sense, unlike the socialist commie government you have in BC right now. Get rid of these people. They are toxic, not just to BC, but anybody who has common sense thinking.
Well, I can't believe, this is why you're not allowed to talk about certain things on certain platforms, but I'm staggered that this person was elected, they say by a hair, like that we have EB. Like, it's just so frustrating. And then of course, nationally, we've got, federally, we've got our Carney, but like these people that have been no good are back in power. It's shocking, isn't it?
It is absolutely shocking.